Hi everyone, thank y'all so much for joining us for our first episode of Ask an Islander here on Facebook Live. I'm Bonnie Stewart-Richland. I'm Engagement Coordinator here at Project Grad, and today we are talking with Jace Medina and Rachel Williams from CareerServices. Jace is actually their career counselor for science and engineering, and Rachel is their internship coordinator. So they'll be answering any of your questions. Feel free to post them at the bottom. And then we do have some questions that students submitted that we will be asking them. If you don't make it in time, feel free to go ahead and post anyway, and we'll respond to those hopefully by the end of today, at the latest by the end of Monday. Okay? So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for coming out. We appreciate it. So I think one of the biggest questions we have is really what is Career Services and what kind of things do y'all offer for students?
Go
ahead.
This will be the challenge we have. Career Services is pretty much the career development center for students here on the TAMU-CC campus, both for current as well as alumni. We help them with anything from make sure their professional documents are in order, such as their resumes and cover letters, to practicing their interviewing skills to make sure that those are on point, and we do provide feedback, and they do have the option of recording those as well. To helping them navigate databases for jobs and internships, to locate those opportunities, to be new employers at events we put on, such as career fairs or business etiquette dinners, where they can learn, find the ins and outs of fine dining, as well as what it's like to be interviewed over dinner. So there's just a plethora of opportunities that they have by utilizing our services, which they do pay for, so they do get a really good return on their investment.
That's a really neat. I had no idea y'all did like business dinners, and that's fantastic. How cool is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's wonderful. So your job specifically is just for internships on campus?
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit, like, are they paid? What are the hours like? What are kind of the options for internships?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are a lot of different internships, some on campus, a lot off campus, and then there's also internships that are going to be local here in Corpus, and then really anywhere else that you can think of. So all across Texas, all across the United States, that we have resources for to plug students into, depending on what their interests are and what they're wanting to go into career-wise. So we do strive as much as possible to get as many paid internships as possible. There's definitely a movement kind of across the United States to do more paid internships than unpaid, just because of all the legalities that are coming up with that. So there are a lot of paid opportunities as well as some unpaid. So what I do is I work with students one-on-one to really provide them resources to help them in their search and just help them through that learning process of finding the right internship site for them.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy for students to have an internship and go to class.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's definitely a balance, and it's going to be up to the student to make sure that they have time in their schedule and time to, do that time management. But most employers are going to be pretty flexible with hours. On average, interns are going to be working anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week during the semester, and then summer internships are probably going to be more hours, closer to 30 to 40 hours a week. But most employers do know that students are taking classes, so they're flexible with their hours and schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the student questions, the first one that we had submitted to us was what kind of, and I know this is kind of a big question, but what kind of things, actually let's do this one. What's the appropriate dress for an interview? That was a popular question.
Well, appropriate dress, I mean, there's a general view of what's appropriate dress. So, like for men, it's typical colors of suits of black, chocolate, gray, navy blue, coat and tie, make sure that, everything fits you well, preferably it's not too baggy. And of course, ladies have their preferred or, typical types of dress attire, but however, it also depends on the environment. So, for instance, if I have an environmental science student who may be interviewing on location in the field somewhere, they're obviously not going to wear that. So, while we do talk about what's considered typical, we do make it a point to tell the students that there's always going to be an exception to the rule. So, I mean, we have one employer in the IT world who they don't want their students to do interviews here on campus with them in coat and tie. They want to be more business casual, simply because their actual work attire on the job is casual, jeans, t-shirts, things like that. So it really depends on the environment they're interviewing for and what that employer is expecting. So it can vary, and that's definitely something that students are able to come talk to us about. We can definitely give them a lot more detail because there is so much detail when it comes to attire. Because we know fashion trends and expectations change constantly.
Right.
So we definitely make it a point to keep on track with that as well.
We do offer as well something that's newer this semester is our career closet. So we do have a lot of different suits that we've purchased brand new in a lot of different sizes, both for men and women. And they're nice suits, they're stylish, they're not, you know, what you'd see your grandma wearing or anything like that. They're new and nice, and students can come and actually rent those suits for an interview and then return them to us. So that's something to definitely keep in mind if students don't have a suit to wear to an interview.
That's fantastic. And how much does that cost, or is that?
I think we charge a fee of $5 for the deposit, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can definitely call and find out the details, but I'm pretty sure that that's what they had settled on was a $5 deposit.
But it's pretty minimal to rent a suit for. That's
Absolutely,
fantastic.
yeah, when you think about how much one costs to buy it.
Right.
it's
And for
definitely
one
less.
interview,
For
when
sure.
you could, yeah, absolutely, instead of borrowing somebody's that's too tall or something.
And just to also plug another thing about attire, about once a year we also have an attire sale. So we have very gently used suits as well as other apparel from members around the community. And the suits that we sell at those are very, very nice suits, but they sell for $10. And that's for the suit and jacket for male or female.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a really good thing for you know, students who just, like she said, can't afford those $200-300 suits.
That's a great resource.
Yeah.
Great idea, I love it. So I like this question too, because I think I definitely ran into this when I got out of college, but how much research should I put into a potential employer? So, you know, when you're applying for jobs and, you know, you're debating between a couple, what kind of things should you be looking at? I mean, I know it's a little personal, but what's a good thing to look at when you're looking at an employer, do you think?
Well, I mean, what I've noticed in my observation, I mean, when it comes to researching an employer, I don't think that there's ever really overdoing it on the research. Getting as familiar as you can with about the company as far as, you know, what types of new projects they're working on, what kind of types of new partnerships they're forming with other entities, do they have any mission statement, what their values are. Any way you can find to tie yourself into that company or the position you're applying for is definitely going to be, you know, as to that student. So I don't think there's a limit on how much research you can do. I think it's just going to come down to the individual student and how much effort they're willing to put forth. And, you know, in my observation, the students who actually put forth the effort and are proactive on everything, those are the ones that are going to be a lot more successful, in a more easier fashion as opposed to the alternative.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that also will probably help you make a decision as you research them too. That should really help sway you.
Yeah.
I would assume.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay. This is a popular one too. This is what if I can't, coming from a liberal arts major, what if I can't find a job in my field? Do y'all help people kind of understand like where their degrees can fit in places that you didn't realize? Is that kind of something you'll offer, or?
I don't want to monopolize the answer.
No, that's,
Okay.
you are a career
Okay,
counselor, so I feel like that one's better suited for you.
We do, like, in our office, we have a career counselor that's designated for each individual college.
Okay.
The career counselor for the College of Liberal Arts, Nancy Salinas, also is a career counselor for the College of Education and Human Development. So she stays very, very busy. But we do help students understand what they can do with their degrees, where it can take them. We also help students understand that their degree doesn't dictate exactly what they're going to do. There's a lot of companies who have positions who they're looking for that formal education, but they're willing to work on it.
Right.
For instance, I had an Eastside major several years ago who ended up getting a job as an analyst for a company. Her position has nothing to do with environmental science,
Right.
but the research component that she had experienced through college tied into what they were looking for. So we do help students understand all the ins and outs of what they can do, where they can go, how they can go about doing it and accomplishing those goals.
That's awesome.
I think too that the biggest thing is making sure that you're getting the experience that you need while you're actually doing your undergrad,
Right.
whether it's an internship or a part-time job. What we kind of always suggest is working backwards, so doing some research on some of those companies you're interested in and taking a look at those full-time positions that they're offering, and if it's something that you think to yourself, oh man, I'd love to apply for that someday, take a look at the experience that they're looking for that kind of job, because that's going to indicate to you what kind of experience you need to be getting now during your undergrad, and that's going to make you that much more eligible for those positions when you graduate. So kind of set yourself up for success.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I like that. So this is kind of ties into this. So in y'all's opinion, do extracurricular activities really make a difference? And what about volunteering?
I think that they definitely make a difference. You want to be mindful with your time. You know, there's a lot of things that you have to commit to when you are a student, and so I think you want to be mindful of that and not take on too much. But I do think extracurriculars can build something called transferable skills, which are, you know, things like organization, leadership, teamwork, and those kind of skills are things that employers are looking for and can transfer in just about any job. So that's really what you're going to get from those extracurriculars. Volunteering, even more so, I think, can be helpful because it really can get your foot in the door professionally. Sometimes if you can't find an internship or you can't find a part-time job, maybe you're just a freshman starting out, you're not ready for those things yet, doing some volunteer work can really get your foot in the door to start building your professional portfolio, have things to put on your resume, so that you can then really seek out those internships and part-time jobs and be a really eligible candidate.
Yeah, that's great. It's also probably, or not probably, it's definitely great for networking as well.
Absolutely.
The people you're gonna meet just doing these things, especially things that you enjoy,
Mhm.
is gonna be very helpful as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, I like this one. The student asked us, should I apply for a job even if I'm not 100% qualified for the job?
I always tell my, whenever I get that question from my students, I suggest to them yes, because I mean, there may be, as Rich was saying, there's always going to be transferable skills that you can tie into those positions, where you may not be 100% qualified. It gives you the opportunity to understand what it's like to go through the application process,
Yeah.
what kinds of documents you'll need, how to go about preparing those documents, but then also it helps you prepare to be able to take those rejections, which is going to be a huge part of seeking that career once you graduate.
Right.
A lot of students who aren't prepared for that, you know, get somewhat traumatized by like, oh my gosh, they told me no, what do I do now? I'm worthless. That's not the case. It's good practice. So, you know, we know that this thing, practice makes perfect. So
Absolutely. I interviewed for a lot of jobs before I started work when I graduated, and I thought it was great practice. It was good. I mean, you know, you interview for a bunch of jobs and then you get to pick the right one, but I thought it was fantastic to kind of get wear the edge off a little bit, you get a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, I agree completely. So I think, I wanted to ask y'all, do y'all have any events coming up that we should know about?
We do. We have, first of all, the business etiquette dinner. Jace was kind of talking about that earlier. That's going to be on February 28th. We are selling tickets for that. They're $7 a piece, but what you get for that is a full course dinner, as well as information on how to interview in a dinner setting or a meal setting. And then there's also going to be employers there, so it's an opportunity for students to network with those employers, get additional practice talking to employers and interview tips, all of that kind of stuff. So that's an awesome event for students. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then the next day, March 1st, is going to be the career fair. We are having an all-major career fair this semester, and that's going to benefit students a lot because there will be employers from all different industries. We're going to kind of separate things by industry, and you can go on our website and find out who is registered. We'll continue to update that as it gets closer, and so students can really look at who's coming and be able to identify who they want to talk to. We do suggest with that to definitely come dressed professionally and bring resumes with you for that career fair. Are there any other events that I'm missing?
yeah, and then in March, I believe it's March 1st, I believe as well, the date could be wrong. We are actually having the education fair as well.
Okay.
So that's going to be the opportunity that we have for them to go out there and showcase the skills that they have, you know, what kind of asset they can be to those companies. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's all the events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are all on y'all's website?
Yes.
And we'll also post those on this Facebook page, hopefully by the end of today, so that y'all can find them as well. So I think that's about it for today. I really appreciate it. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Just a reminder, we're gonna do this every last Friday of the month. Next month, we have Marcy Garza, our new dietitian on campus from Rec Sports. We're super excited to chat with her. So feel free to tune back in, 10 a.m., and thank y'all so much.